Who would you say were your early influences in ministry? What people would you say?
Well, if you go way back to Ridgeland, South Carolina, where I was born June 1, 1935 at 10 p.m. As I grew up as a child, I began to listen to Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking, on radio. And I was just so fascinated with the idea that, wow, we can control our experience of life by our thinking. And so I wrote to him for the booklets of his talks. And I began to study those with great fascination, which later helped me to develop my philosophy, which I call the science of living. Because the very idea that there is a science to living was not something that was taught to people in the fundamentalist churches, black, white, or whatever. In fact, our black preachers prepared us to die to get to heaven. That was our ultimate deliverance. And the idea that I got from Dr. Peale, Power of Positive Thinking, wow, there's a science to this. I can learn how to think about myself positively. I can learn how to feel about myself positively. I can have a positive vision about myself and control my experience. I don't have to be stuck down here in South Carolina, sitting on a log, all of my days complaining about poor black me. You see what the white folks are doing to me. I can control my destiny by my thoughts.
Wow. So what training did you receive? Like once you started receiving the pamphlets from Norman Vincent Peale, what kind of training did you seek in ministry after that?
Well, I started reading all kinds of books from other people as well. I'm an observer. And I started reading all kinds of books, even from the Jehovah's Witnesses who used to come around. I would read, but I would always make my own selection of what I was going to believe. And ultimately, at 17, when I graduated from high school, I went to New York City on a working scholarship, and that's where I started my succession of church scholarships, of church scholarships, yes, and church colleges and theological cemeteries. I mean, seminaries. Couldn't resist that. I don't give those church-related colleges and theological cemeteries any listing anymore in my autobiography, simply because naturally and obviously I don't represent their doctrines.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be fair to them or to me. In fact, the president of one of those seminaries, when called by another researcher, which is why I'm not going to give you that, repeated to him, well, yes, that Reverend Ike, yes, he studied here, he got a degree here, but he apostatized, which means to go astray from the faith, became a heretic. Yeah, and I'm even on the front cover of a very popular heretics occult book, which I relish. Controversy never bothered me. Matter of fact, I just always loved it. But he said he apostatized. And I would like to point out, however, early here that everybody is somebody's heretic. Norman Vincent Peale, for a moment. There was a move to expel him from his denomination when he came out with the teaching and with the book, Power of Positive Thinking. Because this idea, what are you talking about? The power of positive thinking. We ought to be preaching the gospel. And to mention another person who was influenced by Norman Vincent Peale, Dr. Robert Schuller,
Right.
possibility thinking. I read an article about him where they researched him and interviewed a minister who is a peer of his in an adjoining parish. And the minister said, yes, we have listened to him carefully for the gospel and have not heard it.
Wow.
So all of these people who depart from pie in the sky by and by when you die have been labeled heretics.